And so this is kind of what we talked about, Walter. We were like, you have to brand Abigail early. The campaign, I think the longest campaign I was ever on, like on a statewide race, we started like 3 years before the election. And so the point is that you have to brand early to win in a hostile state or to hold a seat that you already retain. And this is what did not happen in Virginia, it appears very clearly. And even if Winsome was not the most inspiring candidate or whatever the reasoning, you can make someone inspiring with enough money and enough branding and enough of an operation. Like just plain and simple. And so the problem we that I saw from this campaign, especially very clear at the end, was that there was not enough early resources. There was not enough grass tops targeting in areas that you needed to pick off to retain Trump voters or turn out those Trump voters, some of which were independents and Democrats in these areas in Northern Virginia, etc. And you didn't do it. And if you did do it, your message is not what they wanted to hear. Like, you're not talking about the promises made, promises kept. This is no tax on tips. None of these things were being talked about in Democrat safe areas that want these kinds of things. And to your point, Walter, this is the Republican GOP consulting class who seem to have, and I'll say it because I don't really care, I will say it, they seem to really like losing because it makes them a lot of money. It's a lot easier to run and run operations and campaigns attacking an idea and not electing somebody because you are constantly in the you're in the minority, so you don't really have to do anything. The consultants can just collect their money. And so that's what I think is again taking place here with the results of this election.
Well, I do agree on the consultants being a huge problem. The consult and I've railed against the consultants endlessly. Everybody knows that. But the big deal to me is that it seems to me that they didn't have any interest in actually running a competitive campaign. Like they wanted to be safe about things. They didn't want to use certain language. They didn't want to do things. They didn't. I mean, look, it became pretty clear about halfway through that what the messaging was whatever we were attacking them with. Me and my people were attacking with. That's what they were using as messaging, and that's good. But that doesn't help you if you don't have any ads to run it behind that. Plus, the fact that you didn't have any money early in the campaign. That's what really made this campaign hard. Okay. The early section of the campaign, we already had a huge deficit to try and overcome, and we never could overcome it. Okay. But the other side of this is, and people still didn't figure this out. They didn't figure this out, is that the Republicans in Virginia, they completely missed the moment. And worse than that, they didn't realize that the reason Obama and everybody else showed up is because they wanted to win that attorney general's race. Okay, they wanted to win that attorney general's race. And the RNC, the Republicans nationally should have recognized that the reason they were doing that is because they wanted to win. They wanted to win the RNC. They wanted to win that attorney general so they could redistrict. That's all they wanted. That's the reason that everybody showed up. Because they were worried when the story dropped about Jay Jones, they were worried he would lose, and then they wouldn't be able to redistrict because we would have kept the AG. That's why everybody showed up all at once. Like, I misread it because I was looking at some of these polls. Trafalgar was showing within a couple points. There's a couple other polls showing it closer. And I was like, okay, that makes more sense. Maybe that's what's going on. And then Obama shows up. I'm like, okay, maybe these other polls are wrong. The polls were all over the place, and they were all bad. They were all bad. Okay, they were all bad. The only people that were accurate was the poly market stuff. Those things were the only ones that were accurate the whole time. People need to start using those a lot more. I really do worry about that, though, by the way. I worry about them using these poly market things as a primary means of doing this because those things can be manipulated because they're not very high volume. Like, they're not very high volume and they can be manipulated. So I worry about people just starting to take those as 100% accurate and just using those. That's a huge problem to me. But anyway, but guys, so the point of this is, like, I don't want to rehash everything that happened in Virginia because it's not what I want to do here. What I want to talk about is the future here, which is what we're going to do next, which is we must get on the ground and we must have people that are actually going to build a ground game out, because if we don't, we will lose. We will lose badly, and I'm not expecting the RNC to come to rescue anybody. There's a bunch of people, I see people say, where is the GOP? Where is the RNC? They're useless. Stop waiting for them to show up and help us. They're not going to help you. Okay. They want to lose. They do. Okay. I'm just kind of come to that conclusion that they want to lose. That's what they want. They like losing. They're big fans of losing. They are losers. Everybody that works for them are losers. They want to lose. Okay. That's just what I is that they just want to lose. That is what they want. I don't have to worry about the GOP or the RNC. They're not worth paying attention to. They're just not because they want to lose. They're just not helpful. Okay, like I don't know what the deal is with these people. They like being the opposition party, but the only way we're going to be able to win, the only way we'll be able to win, is if we actually get people on the ground and constantly do this stuff ourselves. Like we have to. So that's the only way. So we got Michael Casey up here. He's an early vote action, and I know early vote action. I know Scott Presser has stuff on the ground. I'm talking about doing different stuff than what Scott Presser does. I like what they do. I like what everybody does. And, I don't want to hear any infighting about this either. Like, I don't want to hear that anymore. Like, we need to just get people out there going to get the votes. Okay? Like, it doesn't matter where they're doing it, how they're doing it, what they're doing about it. Everyone should be out there getting the votes. Go ahead, Michael Casey. You get your hands up.
Yeah, well, thanks, Walter. Good to be up here, and I do agree. I'm not here to infight. I think it's a team effort. What everyone does their own little thing, and everyone has their own ways of helping out, and each and everything is different, and everyone, it's all a team effort. Everything has to add up and be all different efforts have to come together, and just you can't do one thing. And Jack, Tron, Sarah were part of that. Everyone helped out in New Jersey. There's one thing I think that just from my observation working in the New Jersey race, living in New Jersey just past forever, it's just something I think that people are overlooking is the fact that, the attack on Mikey Sherrill that was most prevalent was, the college cheating scandal and the also the stock trade scandal as well. And I think a wake up call for Republicans was that the average rank and file voters didn't care about those things. What they did care about was Mikey Sherrill. Unfortunately, and I don't say this to criticize any Republican, I don't say this to criticize Jack. I love Jack, but unfortunately, she was able to convince the populace of New Jersey, many independents, that Jack Ciattarelli was going to raise taxes. She used an out of context old clip of his talking about another state, and she flooded the airwaves. She had a ton of money, and she ran commercial after commercial, digital ad after digital ad. I saw it on YouTube, I saw it on TV, I saw it on websites. All these ads calling him a high tax Jack, convincing people that he was going to raise taxes by 10%. And everyone believed, people I know who weren't even political believed it. And beyond Donald Trump, beyond everything else, everyone was, the number one issue in New Jersey, according to every poll, and even with word of mouth, was taxes. And everyone was convinced that Jack Ciattarelli and the Republican Party was going to raise their taxes. And they did this through manipulation, and we didn't have a proper defense to it. People saw two ads on TV. They saw one criticizing Mikey Sherrill over the stock trade issue and over the college cheating scandal, which are both were terrible. Don't get me wrong, they're terrible. But the average voter cared more about the other ad they saw, which was saying that Jack Ciattarelli was going to raise your taxes by 10%. And I think that we just need, Republicans need to just realize now, unfortunately, that the scandals that really mean a lot to us, because we're morally right, we were morally just. The scandals that are big deals to us, because we're with the truth, aren't really important to some people. The people like we have to find some way to resist the lies and social conditioning of all the attacks they're putting out there. We couldn't really have a real rebuttal because they just told a blatant lie about Jack Ciattarelli. They lied about his stances and his record, and we didn't had no way to really counter that. And people are coming up to us on the campaign trail, at doors, at street fairs, at tables, everything, just saying that they didn't love Mikey Sherrill, they didn't love Democrats, but they were just afraid to vote for Jack because they were told through every different method he was going to raise taxes, all based off a lie. And that's the main reason why Jack Ciattarelli lost. Beyond Donald Trump, beyond the RNC, beyond the candidates, is that people were just so convinced by Mikey Sherrill's ads, and her ads were everywhere. They were everywhere. I saw people I know who just don't even follow politics saw them.
How
Everyone
much
believed
money
it.
did Cheryl spend compared to Citarelli? How much money?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but a lot, a lot. She spent a lot of
Yeah,
money.
listen,
I know
this
she was outspent, or
well,
he
so,
was outspent.
yeah, well, I mean, the outspend part is a big part of this, but here's the other thing is that and I told a couple people about this in New Jersey. There was a couple of hits that Cheryl landed on and Jack, and I didn't see a proper response to them. Okay, like you have to punch back. Okay, like if they punch you, you have to punch back, and you have to punch back immediately. It has to be done instantly. You can't just wait. Okay, like you have to come up with an answer to it instantly. It has to be a quick response, and you need to hit back harder. Like I mean, that's what needs to happen. Every time they land something, you need to hit back harder.
And Republicans need to also just keep people just people were afraid to vote for Jack Chiarelli. The Democrats succeed in making people afraid to vote for him. We didn't remind people why they should be afraid to vote for Democrats. If I would have ran ads instead of attacking him or her on the stock trade scales. I would have ran ads reminding people of all the people who who were murdered or raped or killed and robbed by illegal aliens in New Jersey, and show how Mikey Sherrill would allow more of that. I would have ran more ads just showing off, the crazy transgender policies that she supported and they're going on in New Jersey right now. I would I think we should just gone more just for the route of just showing people what they don't like about Democrats, exactly what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump showed people this stuff about crime and immigration and the expenses and all the transgender crazy stuff. We ran on the truth. We ran on attacking Cheryl for her scandals and her character, but that wasn't enough. People were scared of Jack Ciattarelli by the end of it for wrong reasons, a waste of a lie. But we have the facts. We should have shown the facts. We should have shown you know, this New Jersey family was killed by an illegal alien. This is because of the open border policy of Mikey Sherrill. We didn't run on that. We should have ran more on just, this female athlete was beaten by this transgender athlete or whatever in this competition, which does happen in New Jersey. I've seen it happen in my alma mater. We should have ran on that. We should have just, kind of just shoved it in the face everywhere. All these things. Or, for example, Mikey Sherrill voted for reparations. We should have just shown that on ads too, shown that Mikey Sherrill voted for reparations in Congress too. We should have, shown all the money that she's given to overseas
Well,
as well.
This is what my point is, okay? And this is what I was trying to tell people a few minutes ago, was that, the idea that the Democrats were allowed, I mean, it is allowing them, by the way, allowed to run on a message of affordability is insane. It's completely insane. Guys, you just raised everybody's, the amount of money that you guys spent during inflation because of Joe Biden. You should have never been able to touch affordability ever again. But the Republicans didn't respond to it. Why they didn't respond to it, I don't know. To me, and I think someone said it a little bit ago. It might have been George. I don't know who said this, but the idea is that I think the Republican consultants like losing, okay, or they actually don't know how to win, because a lot of these people got their bones from Trump winning them in the elections, and that's the only way that they've ever won is with Trump on the top of the ticket, okay, which means that they didn't actually win. Trump won, and they just rode the coattails along with them, and then told everybody that they were winning. The idea that the Democrats had any ability to run on affordability is insane, okay? And the only advantage we come away from all this, though, the only advantage we have is that the Democrats will not lower costs for any of these people. That's one advantage we have. They will not lower the costs. I can't wait to see I want to know how fast and free the buses are going to be in New York. How fast and how free our Mamdami's bus is going to be. Okay, I need to know. I want to see the fast free buses. I can't wait to see the fast free buses. I'm sure they're going to be running on unicorn farts and pixie dust. I can't wait. It's going to be great. But it doesn't mean we had to lose. This is what I don't understand. I think there is a message and an idea that happened amongst a large portion of the right where they just kind of wrote these elections off. They just ignored them. Whatever. It's after the year after Trump won, we're just going to ignore this. We don't really like candidates, but you friggin' losers, loser mindset. It's so obnoxious to me. You have people running in Virginia. Jay Jones is a despicable person. Okay. Abigail Spanberger cannot speak a full sentence. She's a weak candidate. They're weak candidates. Jay Jones is a terrible candidate. Ghazala Hashmi didn't debate. She didn't do a single press conference. She didn't do anything. And you still couldn't beat her. To me, it is such a lazy thing that has happened, because it seems to me that there is an apoplectic party, doesn't care. They don't want to do anything. They're apathetic about everything. They don't care. Whatever. Trump's in the office. We don't care. It's big blue states. The blue states voted for their blue people. That is loser mentality. We could have won. We could have won, and we should have won. And I think the real reality is that the right still hasn't figured out yet that the left plays a different game. It does not matter who the candidate is. They don't care. And that's one thing, people always say, oh, we need better candidates. We need better candidates. The left runs with losers. With losers, you can't talk. They can't talk. They can't speak. They cannot communicate at all. And they still win with them because they fire the machine up right behind them and line everybody up and give them all the money. That's why they win, okay? If you think that you need these perfect candidates that everybody likes and that everybody shows up at all the right dinners and all this shit, you're just wrong. You don't need it, because the Democrats clearly don't, okay? That doesn't matter to them, okay? They fire the machine up, everybody falls in line right behind them, and everyone runs behind them at full steam. They get started in spring, they run it all the way through November, and the siege runs the entire time. They never let up. They never let up for a second. It's amazing to me that people don't see that they are playing a completely different game. They don't care who the candidate is. They don't care what scandal comes out. None of that matters to them because the only thing they care about is what their plans were, which in Virginia, everyone's not paying attention to this, but the only reason they put so much effort in Virginia is because they wanted to redistrict Virginia. That's what they want to do. They don't care that the voter base just voted for a constitutional referendum on that to make sure that was changed so it was nonpartisan. They don't care about that. It means nothing to them. They'll do it anyway. They don't care about the voters. They care about the power. So they saw an opportunity. They see, okay, look, we're going to win in Virginia. Well, Jay Jones is in trouble now, so we might not get the AG. Oh, wait, we have to get the AG. We have to get the AG because if we want to redistrict in Virginia, we have to have the AG race. Okay, fire up the machine. Get Bill Nye's ass out of the closet. Go bring him down there and put him on the stage. Get Pete Buttigieg. Get him off the chest feeder. Bring him down here. Like, they don't care. They got everybody. The entire top line of the Democrat Party showed up in Virginia. And what did they show up for? They showed up so they could make sure they could get Jay Jones over the line. That's who you're fighting against. That's what you're up against. And the Republicans do not understand it. They don't understand it. They still, we don't like this person. You weasel. You're just useless. Like, you don't get it. They don't care who they run because they're playing a different game. And until the Republicans make sure that they understand that, that's why I don't pay attention to the RNC anymore. RNC, GOP, they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the game. And you would think that they would have figured it out by now. Okay, to me, I thought that after President Trump was nearly assassinated, we would pay attention to this stuff and we would understand. We didn't. Okay. Then after everything else that happened and all the crazy violence that you saw, all these big protests where they're burning and attacking people in Teslas and all that, okay, maybe people would pay attention. Nope, they didn't pay attention then. Then Charlie Kirk is actually assassinated. Do you think people would understand after that? You would think so. At this point, it is clear to me that it is a conscious decision, that you do not want to pay attention to it, and you do not want to accept the fact that you're playing a very different game and that there's people that are not playing by the same rules as you, and they don't care. They either don't care or they're idiots. They either don't care or they're idiots, and now they don't understand it, and now we're going to have to fight on our own. And the deal is there's no cavalry coming. The only way we're going to be able to do this, we're going to have to do it on our own. That's it. There's no other way. It has to be done. It has to be done by people on the ground that are willing to fight for the soul of their country, because the people that are trying to kill you want you and your children dead. And they say it openly and then elect the people that say it to office. That's what you're up against. That's it. There's no other way to look at this. There's no other way to read it. You don't understand the game you're playing. The Republicans that are in office, they refuse to talk about this, refuse to notion this. They're not going to play this game, so we have to play it ourselves. That's the only way. That's just the reality of it. Miss Lou, you have your hand up. Welcome to the stage. Good to see you again.
Oh, thank you, Walter. Boy, have you been nailing it. I'm so disgusted in both the RNC and the GOP for a long time. And the thing is, in addition to being extremely lazy, they're extremely afraid. They're cowards. They cringed every time they were being called racist. Oh, and now they're going to cringe when they're being called Islamophobic. So they won't fight about that either. So the thing is this, you're right, we're on our own. Absolutely. And another thing, in addition to being lazy and cowardly, and many ways incompetent, because we have so many old farts of them in DC, but the thing is that they don't give a damn about Trump in DC. They're not backing him in the Senate. They're not backing him in the House. They're fighting him at every turn. And they don't, let me say this, let me put it bluntly. They hate MAGA. They hate America first. And the establishment Republicans can't wait to lose to see us go away. Well, we're not going away. We transformed their idea of a Republican Party, and we'll move forward with people like you, Walter, messaging. Messaging is everything. That's another thing they don't know how to do. And guerrilla marketing, all these things that need to be done. When Trump went out to McDonald's and he went to the bodegas and all the great things that were brought forward in his campaigns, they don't know how to do any of it.
Well, that's exactly right. The guerrilla, thanks, Miss Lou. I appreciate that. Now, you're right about one thing. The guerrilla marketing aspect is something that obviously I've talked about extensively. Months ago, I was talking about actually starting an organization specifically to do guerrilla marketing. And that was more to pressure people in Congress to actually move on some of the issues that we really wanted to get done. But the reality is, I'd rather start a new one that is only targeted at firing Republican consultants that are shitty at their job. Like, can we start that one? Let's start that one up. Like, how many people would be willing to get on board with that? I think that'd be much better use of our time, to be honest with you, because these people are terrible. I mean, like, you argue with these consultants. You say, okay, they said this, hit them back with this message. And they go, well, I don't know. People might not like that. Like, oh, you useless son of a bitch. Like, I mean, just they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't understand at all, because they think that everything, we tested this message. Like, oh, I hate you. I hate you so much. Like, go get a billboard. Here's what you should have done during the middle of the Spanberger campaign. Go get a billboard and put that picture of her in that stupid bag helmet thing. Put that on I-66. So every time people drive into D.C., they see that. And they say, like, this is your governor. Like, congratulations. Like, I mean, this is what you need to do. You need to mock these people. Mock them into submission. Like, every time I did something in the Virginia campaign, every time I did something to hit this campaign, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the day before the campaign ended, the day before, I went to an Abigail Spanberger rally, okay? I was picked out of the crowd in 10 seconds. Like, they not only knew exactly who I was, they knew me by name, and they refused to let me within 500 feet of the damn rally. Like, I mean, it was the most absurd thing in the world. Like, I could have made a huge stink about it. I could have been like, oh, yeah, you can't throw me out of here. Like, this is a public sidewalk. But it was even better that they knew exactly who I was. That means that these people are fragile. They're fragile, fragile people. And all you have to do is pressure those people, and they crack. Like, that's all you have to do. You just show up and do things to them, and they get all frazzled by it. I mean, if you do that on a regular basis, you would win. You would be able to actually break these people. Like, imagine if we had 10 people that showed up to every single Abigail Spanberger event that she ever did anywhere. Okay, if we just found every single one of her events and showed up and just yelled at her the whole time. Okay, this woman would snap. She would lose her mind. She can't talk at all. And every time a journalist asked her a question, she literally ran. Like, she's, oh God, the journalists have arrived. They're asking me normal questions. Like, these people are fragile people, and you have to show that to people. And the only way you do that is by being aggressive with it. And the aggressiveness was not there at all. Okay, like, I mean, I was aggressive on the campaign trail, but that's about it. I mean, but I don't work for the campaign. I was doing this outside, doing it all on my own, along with a number of other volunteers who were only people doing this sort of stuff. Aggressive, we should have been a whole lot more aggressive. That's the only way you win. All right, Sarah, you got your hand up. What's up?
Hey, yeah. So my name's Sarah. I'm actually with the Early Vote Action Team in New Jersey. I handled the two counties that helped deliver the vote for Jack. So that was Monmouth and Ocean County. That's down in like the South Jersey area. And I would say, I guess one of the reasons why we lost is because number one, yes, it's an off-year election, but whenever there's an off-year election, we obviously have less volunteers, less people who are willing to step up and put in the work, such as door knocking, canvassing, whatever. And like, so a huge reason why I believe that Monmouth and Ocean, they basically were in the leads of delivering the majority of the early votes for Jack Ciattarelli was because there's two organized county GOPs within Monmouth and Ocean. A lot of the GOPs throughout the state are not really organized and have, like, I guess, 3 to 4 people running it. So that could have been a reason why there's not really an organized structure. Monmouth and Ocean have one of the most organized structures, and I have seen them and I've worked heavily with these people. Another reason why we could have lost is because we had lack of volunteers. People just in general don't like to work for free, but a lot of the volunteers that I actually pulled up 2 weeks before the election was through Twitter. I literally just recruited off of Twitter, stacked a whole bunch of phone bankers while I knocked doors. So I get one thing done and I do the other. Like,
Well,
so I
and that's the
honestly
way.
think,
That's
yeah,
one of the best ways to get volunteers. Like Twitter people.
yeah,
One
honestly.
of the reasons I like X Spaces is because X Spaces are full of activists. Most of them are. I mean, the most, like, if you activate people on X, and this is why how I managed to rally hundreds of people to start attacking Spanberger online, is like, you just talk about it. Talk about this person. Talk about how ridiculous they are on a regular basis. And then suddenly, within weeks of us doing that, every single post that the Abigail Spanberger team put out was ratioed into oblivion with 100 people talking, like, posting the picture of her in that bag. Okay, like, it's so, like, you can get people to do things using Twitter because Twitter's full of people that are willing to go out there and do stuff. But you are right, though. The one big thing is that we must fund activists. Like, we can't do it for free. You can't have people to go on the ground and actually do stuff for free. You can't do it. Like the reality is that I work full time and I still did all this. No, but most people aren't willing to work 19 and a half hours a day every single day for 8 months. Okay, like most people don't want to do that. I'm doing something different. I want to actually build a company. I want to build a media company out of this and try and make my own thing out of it. That's one thing. But the reality is, normal people, people that actually like sleeping and stuff, they don't do that. Okay, like you're not going to be able to convince them to show up every single day for a campaign and volunteer and be on the ground, going knocking doors and canvassing and doing events and doing all that stuff. It's just not going to happen. Okay, you must pay people. And the Democrats pay all kinds of activists. They pay tons of them. They pay tons of activists. Like, I mean, they don't have to pay them a whole lot, but they pay them something. They pay them something. Like, my theory would be, if you really wanted to do this right, the Republicans would take a group of people, find a group of probably 5 to 10 activists, and it'd be really easy to do because you could just go find people on Twitter and say, hey, I'll give you a few grand a month if you help us with this campaign. Like, if you find people that are actually willing to work, that would work. Like, they would do it. Like, you don't need to have an enormous amount of money, but you need to be able to fund somebody to be able to get off. And, if we had, imagine if, 10 of us that showed up here every single day had someone that was willing to give us enough money so that we didn't have to go to a 9-to-5 job every day and actually had all that time to work on the campaign and do stuff. Imagine how much more effective that would be. It would be incredibly effective. It'd be very effective, and you wouldn't have to do it for a ton of people. You get 10 people per campaign, it would probably be enough. But, it's very difficult to be able to convince people to do that. It's amazing that we can't seem to figure this out, that we need a ground game. So, again, so this is why I'm talking about midterms coming up. Because to me, it has to start now. You got to get involved now. I'm in the process of setting it up and organizing everything on my end, which is going to be the same thing I did for the Virginia campaign. I'm going to build out teams for each state that I'm part of. I'm going to be focused in Ohio on the ground, but I'm going to build out teams for every single state that I can. And if you want to be part of that, you can send me a message. I'm going to put you in the main hub chat that I have. I've got a large group chat that's going to have every single person that I can. It's already got a couple hundred people in there. It's going to be bigger than that by the time we get into the campaigns for the midterms. Then I'm going to break that out into small rooms. So that'll be one room for each state. That way we can push messaging out. And we're going to focus on specific districts in each one of those places where we think we can make the most difference. In Ohio, it's going to be Ohio 1 and Ohio 9. Those are the two districts we think we can flip. That's the two main districts in Ohio that we think we can actually take care of. So I think we're going to do that. I'm not too worried about Vivek. I saw something hilarious earlier. Vivek, the woman that's running against him, that's going to run against him, is Amy Acton. For those who don't remember who Amy Acton is or know who Amy Acton is, this is the COVID czar. This is the COVID czar, the woman that was out there every day with Mike DeWine, telling everybody about how many masks they needed to wear and how they had to go home at 10 p.m. This has got to be the most unpopular woman in the state. I can't believe that they're going to try and run this woman. It's going to be a trouncing. Vivek is going to flatten her. I still have yard signs of this woman's face. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. If you're not from Ohio and you don't know the Midwest, in the middle of the COVID era, when Daddy DeWine told us we all had to go home at 10 p.m. One, I had a giant rally outside of his house, starting at 10 p.m., ending at 5 a.m., and we called it Party at Daddy DeWine's. That went on for 2 weeks. He hated us. He hated all of us. But the other thing that happened was after he started shutting businesses down, we went out and got these little Bush signs, and it was just their face, and it was Amy Acton, and it was Mike DeWine, and it had the eyes pointing out like that, and we would stick those in people's bushes. So when you come outside of your house, if you weren't wearing your mask, it would have the mask, and it would be pointing at you like you need to put your mask on. We still have those things. I've got a ton of those things in a box somewhere. I'm going to go get those out, and I'm just going to put them all over the place again. This woman forgets how much people hate her. They hate her almost as much as they hate DeWine. DeWine might be a little bit more unpopular. DeWeasel is got to be the least popular Republican governor in the country, by a wide margin at this point. I know Chris likes to argue with me that Brian Kemp is more unpopular, but I disagree. I think DeWeasel is much more obnoxious, and everybody hates him a lot more. But this was his COVID czar, and they're going to run her as opposition to Vivek. I think Vivek's going to flatten her. Not only that, because I also just think that Vivek is a very hard campaigner and a very hard worker and a very hard, generally fundraiser.
He's a very, very smart guy. He knows how to message.
Well, it's not just messaging, dude. It's the work ethic that's behind it. If you guys go look what he did during his presidential run, when he was in Iowa, he did 220 events. That's freaking crazy. Like, I mean, I don't even know how it's possible to do, but he did that. So, you know, he was doing a ton of events, and he's willing to go everywhere and go and do a bazillion things. So I'm not worried about Vivek. I think he'll work his ass off and he'll do just fine. But and that doesn't mean we need to get lazy in the on the districts that we think we could flip. I think we can get a bigger vote in Virginia in Ohio. I think we can get more seats, and I think that needs to happen every state. Now, to do that, you have to have the ground game built out because we can't lose, is what my thought is. We can't lose the midterms. We need to hold the House. You know, I don't think we'll lose the Senate. And I mean, anything can happen. I don't think we'll lose the Senate. But we need to make sure we maintain the House, because if we don't maintain the House, they like, look what the Democrats are doing, okay? Like, there's a bunch of people talking right now, like, should we or should we not end the filibuster? Like, just why are you even asking? Like, look what the options are. Do you think for a second, for a split second, that the Democrats, if they retook power, do you think they'd keep the filibuster? Does anybody believe that? Like, really? Like, does anybody even remotely believe that if the Democrats retook the Senate, that they would not nuke the filibuster instantaneously and then make D.C. a state and make Puerto Rico a state and then instantly have a majority in the Senate forever? Like, do you not think that would happen? I think it would happen the next day. I think then the second they all got sworn in, that'd be the first thing they did. They'd pack the court, make D.C. a state, they'd do all that stuff. So the only way you can fix that would be, my argument would be, you nuke the filibuster now, make mandatory voting ID laws and everywhere in the entire country. Do that today. Like, I think that fixes the problem, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they seem to forget Harry Reid. I mean, they seem to forget the fact that Harry Reid did the nuclear option in the past, and so like this is the problem with. I've railed about the Senate GOP in particular for quite some time. This is by the way, the problem, part of the problem with the consultant class on the GOP side. Many of these consultants also consult for members of Congress or people in the Senate or state parties or some sort of PAC. And I think Miss Lou was correct, but I would go one step further. Most of these state capitals and politicians in these state capitals also shy away from Donald Trump and don't necessarily like MAGA. And so, I mean, I would assure you of that. They think that rationale is toxic. And you know what? In a very strong Republican district that's affluent country club type of thing, I can understand where they'd come up with that philosophy because they are in a safe district. There's no threat to them. That's part of the problem with the Republican Party is no, there's not really a threat to these people, right? They're going to be there, and so the uh, the issue I think is when you look at that previous election and you look at how the Democrats operated, which is by the way how the Democrats operate all the time. They know exactly what races are going to be important. They knew Virginia was super important because where are these grand juries coming from now? They're out of Virginia, right? They moved them out of DC, moved them to Virginia, and so now they had to take Virginia. And so all of their all stars were showing up. Where was our bench? Where when I say our, I mean MAGA. Where were those folks? Where were those folks in Virginia and New Jersey? Where were the rallies? Where was the endorsements? Where was the money? All of those things, none of them were there. And that's the problem. In the end, elections have consequences. There are going to be consequences of the Virginia election that are going to show up in political theater because much of this is political theater and bureaucratic theater. The courts are the battle. And if they can stop what's happening in Virginia courts or have an influence or strong arm or control the press and the media and outdo some of those things, it's just another thing that they can do to stop what's obviously starting to take place with these grand juries. And so, bottom line is missed opportunities across the board. Heading into the midterms, people need to be targeting the most important seats and getting their grass tops built and getting out there now. And I'm going to say this, I don't think that the Republican Party has to be, it would be helpful if they were involved, but it's very simple with the activity. There's data. There's you have a group, you probably have 5 or 10 people who think just like you that in your local community that can be your campaign operation. You don't need the blessing of a party to do it, because most of these folks in the party probably, like at least on these Republican committees, not a lot of them are pro-Trump.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the biggest problems about it. You know, the non pro Trump Republicans are giddy at the chance that they may lose, and then Trump's people go away. I think that's really what I'm watching. You know, there's another thing going on that we'll get in here to in just a second. I want to get to opinions very real quick, and then I'm going to bring up another topic that I want to bring up that's been circulating, and I think I've finally gotten a read on it. So, what's up, opinions?
Hey, Walter. Hey, Jack. Hey, Chris. Glad I was able to come up tonight, Walter. What I, the thing with the filibuster, I don't believe, even if they nuke it right now, I don't trust this Senate to actually do anything with it. There's too many in there that'll submarine any true America First legislation, and then we're really screwed. Then we're screwed for 28 when the Republican voter, the MAGA voter, gets completely just, you know what, I'm done at that point. When we got everything we wanted and then they still screwed us, I think it could backfire. I would rather focus on holding the House, like you said, which President Trump's presidency is on the ballot in 2026. Hold the House, then try to, hold the Senate, maybe get a seat or two, right? And then go for it after that. Because you do this filibuster with this Senate, I don't believe they're going to pass any America First Agenda 47 items with a simple majority. Look what they just did with the tariffs. Going into this Supreme Court decision, they took up 3 votes on tariffs, and it was 4 people every single time that made sure President Trump had no shot. They wouldn't pass that with a 51 vote majority. It was McConnell, Murkowski, Collins, Massey, not Massey, Tom Tillis, Rand Paul. You're always going to find 4. They're always going to find 4 to submarine him with this particular Senate. And that's why I just don't think nuking the filibuster right now is going to do anything except hurt us even more. Win the House in 26. Get out there. The messaging is that President Trump's presidency is on the ballot. Every low propensity voter in all those counties that you mentioned to me yesterday, Walter, who came out for President Trump, hey, you came out then, you better come out now, because the man you voted for, his agenda, the agenda you voted for, the agenda that finally brought you out of your house for the first time maybe to vote in your life is on the ballot. And that's how it has to be. That's just the way I see it.
You know, I kind of agree with one key point there, which is, I saw someone say this earlier today too. It's like, before I agree to the idea of nuking the filibuster, I want to see what legislation you're going to pass. I want to see what legislation's lined up right there to be able to be passed the minute that you go through it. And I agree with that. I do agree with that, because you're on the right page, actually, that, we don't trust this Senate. I don't trust this Senate at all. I don't trust any of the Republicans in Congress. Okay. Like these people they haven't been very helpful. Mike Johnson's done okay. But the Senate has not done shit. Okay, they haven't got anything done. I will say, I've been very happy that they've been doing these block confirmations of mass amounts of Trump appointees. That has been a pretty good move. But you're right about the tariff stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to see exactly what legislation they intend to bring forward. I would have to see it before I agree to any idea of nuking the filibuster. Yeah, I agree with that. I still just look at it the same way, though, that you have to be concerned about the reality is if the Democrats retake the Senate, they're going to use this anyway. They're going to do it. And I don't know if it'll be possible, but, they're going to try and do it anyway. That's what they want to do. And I just, people need to be paying attention to that. Okay, but there's another thing I want to bring up here. Before we do that, though, guys, make sure you guys share this space out. This is the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Walter Kerr, your host. Got Jack Tron up here as my co-host, and Chris Moreno is my other co-host, and he is now a speaker for some weird reason. But anyway, so make sure you guys share this space out. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Rumble, Substack, wherever you guys are listening, I do read the comments. Wherever you guys are posting the comments at, I do read them. Wherever you guys have them, I do read them. I will go through some of the comments on here on the X space here in just a second, because there's something else I want to bring up. I want to get people's take on this. So obviously, everybody has been stupidly and incessantly and constantly talking about Israel and Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes as if it is the most important issue that is ever importanted, which is just driving me crazy because I can't stand it and I don't care about any of it. But someone finally brought up something today that was important on it, and it kind of made me click on what I'm actually watching here. So here's something pretty interesting, and I want to give this to the panel here so you guys can think about this and talk about this, and people in the comments, I'm curious what you have to say about this. So if you haven't noticed, there's a contingency of people that are attacking JD Vance. Okay, they're linking him to Tucker Carlson, and they're claiming, oh, look, he's 100% backing Tucker Carlson, and because he backs Tucker Carlson, we can't support him because of whatever friggin' reason. They don't like Tucker because they think Tucker is evil and anti-Semitic and whatever else, and then they're somehow linking JD Vance to that because JD Vance won't come out outright and say I hate Tucker Carlson for whatever, like people are ridiculous. You do know that like Tucker Carlson's kids work for JD Vance. Like it's so stupid to think that you're going to convince him to just say stuff like that. Like these people are personal friends of each other. But anyway, ignore all of that. Okay. Here's the comment that you need to pay attention to. There is actually going to be a primary in 2028. Okay. There's going to be a real primary that happens. That's going to be the first time the Republicans have had a primary without Donald Trump there in many, many years. And this is going to make everything different. Okay. Now, there's going to be two people that are going to run for this primary. They're the only two people I think are going to be any remotely competitive: JD Vance and Marco Rubio. Okay. Now, how are you going to run those two against each other, and what coalitions are you going to build? Marco Rubio is a Secretary of State. He's also very pro-Israel. He's very pro-Middle Eastern. He's very, like I wouldn't say interventionalism, but he's a much bigger hawk on foreign policy than I would say. Like maybe JD Vance is hawkish on foreign policy, but he doesn't project that much. He's much more of the, MAGA. I wouldn't even call it isolationist. I'd say he's just more on Trump's policy side. Okay, Marco Rubio at the end of the day is still much more of a hawk on foreign policy and always was. So what I think you're actually witnessing, and this is what I want people's opinion on here. What I think you're actually witnessing is the beginning of the 2028 primary. Okay. You're going to see Vance versus Rubio, and you're seeing people already start to lay the groundwork for this. And I don't think people were paying attention to it, but I think this is actually what's happening. I think that the Vance Rubio split, and this is how they're going to set the stage. They're going to say, well, we don't like Vance because he works with Tucker Carlson or something like that. And that's how they're going to run this up. So there's going to be a Vance versus Rubio split, and that's how they're going to fight each other on it. I think that's how it's going to be. So I'm curious what you guys think about that. Like anybody who wants to chime in on that, let me know.
Well, what about if there's a Vance Rubio ticket? Rubio runs as his VP. Have you considered that possibility?
Yeah, I mean, I've considered it. I mean, no one knows. No one knows what that's really going to be. But I will say that if you guys think that that Marco Rubio, one of the most ambitious politicians in Washington, D.C., is not going to actually try and run or make a serious attempt at running. I think the only way you'd be able to convince him not to do that would be Trump says, I back Vance 100%. That'd be very difficult to overcome in a primary. However, I'm actually of the mind that President Trump might let a full open primary happen so that you get the best candidate, because Trump is a meritocratic person. That's just how Trump is. Whoever can build the best coalition is going to be the one that can run the candidate the best. So that's the purpose of primaries, really. So Trump may let a primary play out. This is what my theory was a few months ago. I still stand by it. I think it's very possible that Trump doesn't get involved in the primary and then he backs whoever wins the primary 1,000%. I think that's possible. MTG is not going to run for president. Someone just put that down there. Okay, MTG would get laughed out of a presidential run. No one cares about MTG. Not happening. Like she's a joke. Like I'm sorry. I don't care what.
She's going on The View and she's bashing Trump. Okay,
Listen, I just don't like MTG is just a congresswoman from somewhere in Georgia. Okay, she has nothing in terms of clout compared to JD Vance and Marco Rubio. Like she would get trounced. Okay, like that's not even really a competitive person. Okay, like
she might run as a Democrat, Walter. She might run as a Democrat.
Oh, there you go. Maybe she'll look. I can't wait. This is gonna be great. Like I hope that they stupidly put Massey up and try to run him for a primary so I can watch him get 2% of the vote. Like that will be entertaining. Like that. Like I actually want them to do that because for those who don't know, I despise Massey. I think he is a useless little obnoxious grandstanding idiot that has never accomplished a single thing the entire time he's been in office, and all he does is complain and make noise and then vote for the Democrats. Okay, like I don't like this guy at all. I've never thought he's a successful congressman. I don't think he's good at his job. I think he's obnoxious. I don't think anything about him is helpful, and I'm going to personally help get him primaried. Like that, I'm going to personally help. I'm going to do it for free. I already announced that a number of months ago. I got so annoyed with him, and this is specifically it was right after after Charlie Kirk was killed. He came out and said that we need to tone down the rhetoric on both sides. It's like, oh, shut up. Just shut your damn, yeah, oh my God, I hate this guy. I hate him. He's very obnoxious. Okay, so no, like I want him to run though. I hope he does, because then all of those people who think they have influence, all those people that like the Massianites is what I call them, by the way. I call them Massianites. The Massianites who believe that this guy that has an online following that's reasonably popular, okay, like he's going to get so trounced in a primary, like he won't even get 1%. Like he won't even get close to 1%, because the only people that really support people like Massey are the people that they all have podcasts. Like it's every podcast bro in the country loves Massey. Okay, but he's not actually popular. No one cares about this guy. Okay, so he will lose badly, and it'll be very entertaining to watch. So that would be great. I hope he does run, just so we can watch that happen. Just so we can watch him get crushed. That'll be great. Now, the other side of it is someone just put down here Tulsi. That's actually good. Tulsi is a good idea, because I think that there's another thing that could happen here in 2028, and people are kind of not paying attention to it yet. But I think it's a real possibility, especially if RFK manages to deliver on his Maha promise and manages to get a bunch of stuff through an HHS to fix a lot of things. I think it's entirely possible you could see an RFK and Tulsi ticket run against the Democrat ticket. I think that's possible. I actually think that's something that really could happen. And I think they'd be popular. I think they'd be really popular. I think that would actually be a strong ticket that actually might go up and do something. Now, the problem they have is the Democrat Party won't let them run, so I don't know how they'll run. I mean, I don't know. But if they do, they could do the same sort of spoiler that they did for the Democrats this time. So who knows? I don't know. That's something to think about for 28. But midterms
Well, I mean,
is when, again,
Tulsi
I'm more...
already announced that she's a Republican now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but again, you're still thinking about it in terms of what Tulsi's going to do. You don't know. These people are all very ambitious politicians. Every single one of them are. They're all very ambitious politicians. So thinking that they're not going to go run and do something after this is crazy. Okay, they probably are. Now, what happens as a result of that, I have no idea, because the Democrats have super delegates, so that like it doesn't really make sense for them to be able to run a normal way.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you actually look at the numbers right now, RFK and Tulsi are two of the most popular in the administration. And so
Yep.
I don't think the Democrats will be able to do anything to them. As long as they're not running in a Democrat primary, they've served in a Republican administration, they can run on the Republican ticket and they would win. The Democrats wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
Yeah, that's kind of what my thought is. I have no idea. I mean, like if you run one of these people, like what if you did a Vance Tulsi ticket? This sounds like a strong ticket. I mean, that sounds like a very strong ticket. And Tulsi would bring a lot of votes. Okay, like I mean, you got to think about this stuff. Like, there's a bunch of different ways that this stuff can go down. But again, I think more important right now is still the I don't know why people are putting thumbs down for Tulsi. Tulsi is great. Okay, like I don't know what you're doing. You're thinking that Tulsi isn't awesome. Tulsi is fantastic. Okay,
Well,
Tulsi.
here's the deal: they are taking Tulsi's past. And they're saying, okay, she's a snake in the grass. We don't trust her. You can't trust her. Blah 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 blah. And I get the argument. However, the bottom line is she's now in this administration. If anything, she and you know more than anybody outside of the president was persecuted by the previous administration and the Democratic Party bigger than anybody else. And so I think she very much has an axe to grind, and very much and I will say axe to grind. I say this not as like, hey, she's just going to go after people. It's that she passionately took an oath for this country in the military, and that's what she's going to do. She feels wronged, not just personally but as a country, that these things are happening. And so that's kind of my 2 cents on it. But I do think though that a Vance Kennedy ticket is going to be very powerful. I think we will see a Kennedy on the 2028 ticket, in my personal opinion, if he wants it, if he wanted it.
That would be pretty interesting. I mean, look, the Democrats don't have a deep bench for 28. That's not like they don't have a deep bench right now. Okay, like who are they going to run? Newsom, like Maraca hands. Like I mean, I think
what about Hegseth?
Hegseth is probably like, as much as I love Hegseth, he's not like presidential material, mostly because the liberals will literally like burn the world down if Hegseth became president. Like, I mean, I think they would actually all like jump from the nearest roof if Hegseth became president. Now, I would enjoy to watch it. I think it'd be hilarious, but I don't think it'll happen. Okay, like it's just he is great for his role. I think Hegseth is the perfect Secretary of Defense. He's fantastic. Love it. The greatest person who could ever be the Secretary of Defense is Hegseth. Okay, like, and the liberals hate him so much, it's just hysterical. But I think that people are saying that Tulsi would be an outstanding first female president. I don't know, maybe. But again, I think that you'd be probably more likely you see a split somewhere where it's like Tulsi Vance, or Vance Tulsi, or Vance with Kennedy on the ticket. I don't know. There's a bunch of things that could happen for 28, but that's years down the road. Midterms is the more important right now because we need to make sure we win. I still think that 28 is going to be difficult regardless, because you're still not going to have Trump on the ballot. Okay, so these people, no matter how popular they are, they're going to have to get their voters out somehow, and they've got to get people to back them as much as they back Trump. Okay, which means they're going to have to campaign like Trump. They're going to have to get out there and talk like Trump. They're going to be able to have to get out there and get the votes like Trump. That's going to have to happen. And that, like, you have to remember that Trump, at the end of the day, has more name ID than anybody on the planet, and always has. He's always had more name ID than anybody on the planet. There is nobody that doesn't know who Trump is. Nobody. It does not matter. People in tiny little towns in the middle of Africa know who Trump is. Okay, like, this guy has been like that for his entire life. So you're going to have to get some way that you get that to replace that name ID. You're going to have somebody that comes out real strong. So we'll see what happens there. But in the midterms, and in the meantime, these midterms is what I'm more focused on here, guys, because the ground game for the midterms is a whole different world than it is for the general election for Trump. It's a whole different game because you have to operate in individual districts in every single state. You got to work we got to work extremely hard to be able to win this election. And because the midterms historically always flip the opposite direction. Always, at least in the House. I don't even know when the last time that I think Bush after September 11th was the last time the House did not flip in the next presidential election. That's the last time it happened. But that was directly after September 11th, so that's not very surprising. We're going to have to figure out how to win, though, because if we don't, they're going to stall every single part of the Trump agenda, and it's going to die in its crib. Like, it's not going to go anywhere. And the Republicans in Congress are barely doing anything as it is. So we need to replace some of the people in Congress, and we need to make sure we maintain it, which is going to be a hell of a task, which is why we need to start now. So, that's that's the biggest focus and what we all need to start getting involved in. Every single person that listens to this show, I hope you do get involved somehow. There are all sorts of tools. If you want to know how you can help, if you want to be involved, you can send me a message and I'll help you get involved. If anybody wants to be involved in your own state, I will help you I will give you every tool and access to every single thing and every single resource that I possibly can to help you on your way to try and actually becoming an activist in your state, because we need you. Okay, we got Hill with his hand up. What's up, Hill?
Hey, Walter. I wanted to ask. So you've been
By the way,
talking
I'm sorry. By the way, I just need to I feel condolences are in order, because you have a Muslim communist that is now your mayor. So I apologize, Hill.
Oh,
That is sad, and I hope that
yeah.
he doesn't burn your city to the ground in 2 weeks.
Well, it's gonna. Well, he won't get sworn in until January 1st, but the ball drop in Times Square should be interesting this year
Oh
because that's
God.
usually where they do it. Um, Yeah, so I had a question. We've been talking about this ground game, but I'm wondering who is the person, and I'm assuming the answer to this is nobody really. Who's the person who maintains the gigantic map of all the races and then triages them to decide which are the races that are most important to focus on? Because every single representative is going to change in the midterm, and we have a third of the Senate that's going to change, right? So, would it be wise to figure out what are the key races before figuring out what the ground game is?
Well, yeah. I mean, you need to figure that out, which is what, so I already I mentioned this earlier. In Ohio, it's going to be Ohio 9 and Ohio 1 are the two districts we're going to focus on. But you're going to
Okay.
have to figure that out in each state. Everyone's going to have to figure that out. I mean, that's going to be unique to each state. You're going to have to take a real good look at
Right.
the data, see who was in the seat, who is an incumbent, who's not an incumbent, who's out, who has lost their support, who's not returning. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is retiring. I'm sure they're going to replace her with someone that's like 10 times more radical than her, but they won't have the stock portfolio at least. Like, who knows? Okay, so
Yes.
you just need to pay attention to that stuff because you're going to have to figure that out in each state. That's the only way you'll be able to figure it out.
But is this ever coordinated at a national level, or is this every state has to deal with it on its own?
I mean, that's
I
it's
I don't know
national.
anything about this,
Well,
how this is done.
on a national level, you'll have to figure it out. But I mean, each state's going to have to make the decision. Like it's the activists and the people on the ground in each state that's going to make the difference. So you're going to have to be able to look out and go look into the data yourself, or find
Mhm.
groups that know the data and have the data already to figure out which
Mm.
state and which seats are going to be competitive. And then there's a really good way to look at this. I know you can. There's probably a good bellwether map where you can go see which districts are usually swing districts and places that are like, it would look for places that flip back and forth. That's what you really want to look at. I mean, my guess is that we're going to have to look into, my guess is probably not places like Florida. You're going to have to look at swing states. You probably look in Pennsylvania, look in Arizona. You're going to have to look in Ohio. Ohio, they're going to try and fight for a couple of key districts. They're also going to try and get Sherrod Brown in, which he's not going to win, but that doesn't matter. They're also going to try and take that Senate seat. So there's a bunch of stuff to look at. You got to pay attention to
Mm.
as many things as you can, but it's going to be dependent on what state you're in. And I'm going to start trying to organize this stuff and try and figure this out on my own. But if you guys
Mhm.
want to be part of that, I mean, the only way you can do that is just send me a message and I'll add you to this group and I'll eventually have this organized. By January, I should have a full setup for each state that I'm going to be active in during the midterms. So that's my
Okay.
intention. I'm going to try and work as many places as I can. I'll probably be focused mostly in Ohio, but I will obviously be active in Virginia still. I will try. I'm probably going to be a little bit active in Tennessee and a little bit in New York. We'll see.
Uh,
There's going to be some interesting stuff happening. So we'll see what we can do. Of
okay. Thank you.
course. All right, guys. Make sure you guys share this space out. This is the Political Theater. I'm reading through some of the comments here, just see what everyone's talking about here. If you guys want to come up and join the show, you're welcome to do so. Just request, and I will bring you up, and you're welcome to bring any comments you want to talk about for the midterms. Looks like we've got Civic Crisis that wanted to be added up here, so I just added him to the panel here if he has something to say. But if you guys want something to say, if you're listening on our other streams on Substack or Rumble or YouTube, anything else. Obviously, if you're on YouTube and Rumble, you can always put a comment in the live stream. I do see those comments if you got something to say. Someone saying they're in Ohio, want to help. Send me a message on X if you would like to get involved, or you can go to my website, go to wcdispatch.com, and I do have a contact page there. If you'd like to get involved with that way, you can send me a message there. I'm more than happy to work with you. I'll tell you what I'm doing here in Ohio to get started here, because obviously I'm not going to be down in Virginia as often now with the election over. I'll probably be focusing a lot of my efforts here. But of course, if there's competitive districts down there in Virginia, I'll probably be involved with those as well, as much as I possibly can, at least. All right. So let's see here. Civic Crisis, you wanted to come up here. What's up, man?
Yeah, hey, what's up? Good show. I totally agree with you in terms of the filibuster. I wanted to comment on this because uh, it definitely should be considered and, uh, you know, strategized because in 2022, when the Democrats made that attempt to pass these election reforms that would have changed the way the entire nation future elections were ran. You're familiar with this? And they had the talking the day for like one day this talking filibuster where all the Republicans had to speak on the floor for extended periods of time. Well, had the Republicans failed there, I think the Democrat plan would have been, and they would have succeeded to pass these election reforms, right?
Yeah, I mean, they already tried to remove the filibuster. People forget that. I
Right.
mean,
No, and it's
the
just
only,
that
yeah,
Manchin and Sinema both voted no.
that's right.
Neither of them are there. I mean, it's entirely reasonable to say that these they actually admittedly put this on the back burner when it failed with with the plan to do it again. And so yeah, I mean if the Democrats take control of the Senate again and don't have a couple of independent leaning Democrats like Manchin and Sinema, which both at the time was just like a huge relief to Americans that they didn't let this lunatic Democrat Party completely reform elections, which would have favored Democrats heavily and completely rigged it. So I think the seriousness of what they tried to do um, could be easily overlooked with the fact that if they'd succeeded, the elections would have been completely different. And and they have a plan to do that again. So yeah, that needs to go into the consideration of Republicans. While they're in charge, they need to do everything that they can to ensure in my opinion, to ensure the American system doesn't fall into these kinds of hands where these Democrats would do this type of thing. Because if they had succeeded in that election reform,
Yeah,
it would have
you're exactly.
completely changed. It
You're,
would have completely Trump would not be president. We would not have taken the House or the Senate. This is major. This is like yeah. So thanks for
No, but you're
you
right. I
want to
mean,
chime in
and
on
this is
that?
no, but you're exactly right, and this is what I was talking about. Like people forget that the Democrats literally almost did. Like it's not like it almost. It's not like it didn't happen, and they tried to get rid of the filibuster once already. Like they will do it again, which is why I worry about it. But at the same time, I still agree with what somebody said a minute ago. I think it was Opinions that said this. That yeah, I agree that like I know that the Democrats want to get rid of it. I get that, but at the same time, what are we going to pass? I want to know the legislation. Like I want to know the legislation that you're going to get on the desk the second after if we repeal the filibuster, if we pull that back and we just get rid of it and make the nuclear option. I want to know what legislation we're going to pass the next day because that stuff better be jammed through instantaneously. If we knew that, we need it
Hmm.
in law instantaneously. Must happen right away. Has to happen.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean by further consideration and strategy sessions should be happening, like emergency happening, because had these Democrats succeeded in their election reform plans, we would be in a very different situation here, and that should be mentioned in the context of what's going on here to, really take it seriously.
I agree. No, you're right. I mean, we do need to take it seriously because the Democrats 100% want to get rid of it. Like, I mean, that's it's not even really a joke. Like, I mean, they know what they want to do and they want to do it. They want to get rid of it. They don't want the filibuster. They want to if they get Bauer again, they will take all of these options that we sit here and bicker about and we discuss about like I say all the time, they're playing a different game. They're playing a
Mm.
completely different game than we are, and people just do not understand it. And we need to figure out how to get people to understand it because it's a huge problem.
Yeah, and just quickly, I'll try to name off a few bullet points off the top of my head, and we can confirm this. I think I just confirmed this, but um, some of these points, I was just doing a little research because it happened 3 years ago. At the time we were watching, and maybe people don't remember. We need to remember this. They would have allowed nationwide mail-in voting, taking away states' rights to run their own elections. Uh, voter ID laws being banned, right? You could just show a utility bill, and then these types of things, it would have incredibly vulnerabilized the election systems nationwide in favor of Democrats. Uh, it just complete rigging. Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, the Democrats, they like I said, they play a different game, and their game is 100% power all the time. That's all they care about. So that's what they're going to do. And that's why we need to pay attention to it. Why we need to fight back as much as we possibly can. We need to pay a lot more attention to it. And there's people. Okay, so there's a couple people I've seen say this. Okay, we need Laura Trump to run the RNC again. Okay, people just need to get over the fact that the RNC is a not useful organization. Like, I mean, this is what I keep trying to tell people. The RNC is not winning anything. Okay, they are not a helpful organization. They're not a conservative organization. They are the RNC. At the end of the day, is still pretty much all run by rhinos. It is. I mean, like if Trump wasn't as effective and brutal as he is as a effective leader to be able to whip votes up and to get himself elected, the RNC would never have anything to do with Trump ever again. Like that's just the reality of it. Like they hate him. They don't like Trump at all. I don't like the RNC at all. I don't think they're a helpful organization. They don't help tickets in across the country. They don't like go look at the comparison. Okay, like look at the comparison. What does the DNC do when one of their candidates needs help? They mobilize every single person in the organization to show up and help vote for them and help get the vote out. That's what they do. I mean, they have these massive big rallies, the No Kings rallies. Those are all funded by the DNC. All the No Kings rallies were. Those were all DNC set up events. They did those across the country multiple different times. And what was the purpose of those? That was to drive their base to the polls for these elections that were coming up. So, they work heavily with their candidates to try and get their candidates elected because they want to get the power. That's all that matters to them. You know, and the RNC does not do that. As far as I can tell, the RNC does almost nothing. You know, they don't seem to do a whole lot of anything at all. All right, we got a couple other requests here. Like, who is now? We've got Jess coming up here. If you guys have something else, just put your hand up and you're welcome to comment. If you guys have something else to say, there's a ton of comments on this show. If you guys have something to say in the other streams, I do read the other streams. Let's see here. Hopefully Trump doesn't do something stupid, the thing he did in AZ with Karen Robinson and Biggs. I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest with you. Isn't Biggs still running for that governorship in Arizona? Isn't that going to happen? Isn't Biggs doing that again? Or I don't know what I read that earlier today. I think they're setting up something for Biggs in Arizona. What's up, Jess? You came up to the stage. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jess.
So yeah, I just been thinking about what you've been saying. You know, I'm seeing that too, that propaganda about anti-Israel thing, and like it's all about the Jews, and saying like everything is run by them, and it's just really getting on my nerves lately. I'm like so done.
Listen to me.
So over it.
Listen to me. I said this earlier today. It's like, you know, if there is one thing that is driving me to dislike Israel, it is the fact that people only talk about Israel all freaking day. My goodness, shut up about the New Jersey of the Middle East, people. Shut up. I don't care. Like, I could not care less about what happens in the Middle East at this point. Like, you have made me hate it. Hate everything about it. It is the most annoying topic that could possibly be brought up. You know, listen to me. I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday on the show. I probably did because I was super annoyed by it. I listened to a whole show of someone trying to say that Trump's foreign policy is the reason that we lost in Virginia. Like, I lost so many brain cells from trying to hear someone make that argument that I think I'm classified as mentally retarded. Like, I mean, that's how stupid I felt.
This argument?
I'm not going to, I don't do that. Okay. But I'm just telling you that, like, there was a number of people that were trying to say this, that somehow Israel caused us to have a 40% turnout in Southern Virginia. Like, are you, like, you've got to be the most retarded person in the planet to believe that. Like, it's so bafflingly stupid to think that that's what caused our turnout drop. Like, it's amazing to me. Okay, like what you really had was you had candidates that were not super popular, and then a party that didn't back them. Okay, like that's what happened. You didn't get good turnout because you did that. So it's amazing to me, though. Like, people, like, if you live in a world where Israel somehow influences Lee County, Virginia, you are just living on a planet that I don't know where it's at. Like, I mean, like, you're completely hopelessly lost online. Like, you have no connection whatsoever to what's going on online at all. What's up, Paul? How are you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Walter, thanks a lot. Yeah, I had a couple points. One point that you sort of touched on that I think is really important is the fact that if you look back over past races, the GOP, the RNC, these GOP consultants, they don't know how to win. And I would say they've been winning off the back of Trump. You know, they've got to learn how to win without Trump. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Virginia made a mistake. They made a mistake by not, putting Trump into that race, in Southern Virginia and using him. But they've got to learn how to do it on their own. They just are inept, in my opinion. Another point is, we still have all these idiotic mail-in ballots everywhere. COVID's been over forever, so that's ridiculous. Another ridiculous point is, for example, in Virginia, when you have early voting starting on September 19th, that's another something that just, I'm totally against that. But the Republicans Trump's not going to be around forever, and they've got to start learning to win and have strategies that work. And I just don't think they have it.
Well, that's the challenge, really, right? The real challenge becomes whether or not the Republicans can win without Daddy Trump on the ticket. That becomes the biggest problem. And that's why, people are saying that, well, maybe we don't need to worry about it. It's not a bit like the Virginia and New Jersey aren't a bellwether. It's like, I don't know if it's a bellwether or not. Okay. Like, I understand both of them are blue states, and I understand that, maybe Youngkin was the outlier in Virginia, but that doesn't mean you lose by having a 40% drop in Southern Virginia. Okay. Like that's what you really had. You had a 40% drop in turnout in Southern Virginia. I mean, that's where your votes went. That's why you lost so many of them, because you didn't get any of them out. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to compare it to Trump numbers, okay? Trump numbers, Trump got 2 million voters out in Southern, like a total in Virginia, okay? Winsome Sears got 1.4 million. 600,000 people less? Yeah, like, come on, guys. That's a massive drop. Like, it's not like it's not, like, and Abigail Spanberger got 1.9 million. Kamala got 2.3. Okay, so that's your total numbers. All right, so the discrepancy is much higher for Winsome Sears compared to Abigail Spanberger in that. I mean, it's just a massive drop, and it's because you didn't message to the base. You didn't talk to the base, obviously. As much as the online stuff we tried to run with, it clearly didn't work. I thought that debate would have been good enough, but not enough people watched the debate. Obviously, that's the only thing I can say is that not enough people watched it. You still didn't manage to get enough people on the ground to get the vote out in Southern Virginia. You just didn't do it.
I mean, I agree. I have to say that, with the Doge that went through and the government shutdown, and the Northern Virginia voters were, highly motivated to vote. And it could have been, maybe it was a lost cause, but you can't just give up. And to my mind, they just turned over. They just gave up. They didn't do anything. The GOP in Virginia, they just didn't support the candidates.
Yeah, that's what my point has been. It's that, look, like, I don't care if it was inevitable or whatever. Like, that doesn't matter to me. You lost 15 seats in the House of Delegates. Like, that's a huge loss. I mean,
that's huge.
It's massive. I mean, it's like every seat that it was mathematically possible for them to lose, they lost. I mean, that's what happened. Okay, like, it was a complete failure on the Republican Party of Virginia to do this. Now, the other side of this, the one advantage that you have as a result of this is Spanberger said she's not going to work with Trump at all. So that means that Trump can just fire all the Virginia workers. Oop. Oh, well, if you're going to be a super blue state, then fine. Then, Trump will just fire all those blue workers, and then they can be unemployed, and maybe they'll move somewhere else, like, I don't know, California, and move over there.
Yeah, you make a great point. People that don't understand Virginia, the way Virginia is run, the fact that they lost so many delegates, to my mind, is the biggest loss. That is devastating for Virginia.
Oh, yeah. It's huge. It's a massive. I mean, they already controlled. There was already a trifecta. I mean, not trifecta. They had the House and the Senate. But now they got the trifecta, and they lost a ton of seats. So, there was also, a number of seats that were uncontested. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up there, Hillary. You said 18. Yeah, there's a ton of seats that were uncontested. There should never be any districts that ever go uncontested, ever. I disagree with that entirely. But it's, again, I'm telling you, it's just the Republican Party of Virginia just didn't want to do anything. Okay, They apparently like being losers. That's the only thing I can say. Sounds to me like they just want to be losers. They're going to continue to be losers. What's crazy to me is, like, there's a group of people that I know I've argued with a group of people, like, well, they didn't like this candidate or they didn't like that candidate. It's like, yeah, but even the one that you did like, there's a whole bunch of people that backed certain candidates in this race that they really did like, but then they didn't give them any money. Like, it's like, so what did you like the candidate? Are you sure? You liked him. You liked the candidate so much that you gave him $0. Like, I mean, like, it's just absurd to me. Like, it's so stupid to me. It drives me nuts, and I had to deal with it for the entire time I was trying to help get the Virginia ticket over, trying to keep the infighting down, trying to get people motivated to do stuff. But at the end of the day, they didn't want to do it. So they lost, and they lost big, and they lost by a huge margin, and they lost the delegates' house, and whatever, it's over. They got crushed because the Republican Party of Virginia was so lazy they couldn't figure out how to get out of their own way. And now that's done. So, people try to say that it's not the same, it's the same sweep that happened back in 2018 after Trump won. Maybe, but I don't know, guys. I don't think so. I think that what really happened is the Republican Party of Virginia is a very poorly run organization. That's what I think. I think it's a very poorly run organization. Okay, Simona Lopez, what's up?
Yes, hi, Walter. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm speaking from New York, and I want to say that the voting system is very rigid, and not only in New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Also, Virginia is also red. Only few county are blue, and then they actually fix the election. I could swear to God in New York because I see the ballot, and Mandami was twice in on the top, and Cuomo was on the bottom, and I am very disappointed in New York and RNC because they did not invest anything in New York to promote a Republican. Cuomo tried to for the last 10 years he tries to run for the mayor. I vote for him every time, but he doesn't get any support for RNC or GOP. Why they couldn't find anybody else or help him or find another candidate? Like the last one is Giuliani, who was a great Republican and fixed New York. So I am very mad of GOP because they lazy in Virginia, they very lazy in New York. They didn't do anything. What Trump did, he pretty much kind of endorsed Cuomo, who is everybody hates him in New York because he was a killer with a nursing home. I mean, we didn't like Mandami, but he said between two evils, the less evils. Why they didn't go for the Republican? Why they didn't back up the Republican? Why they didn't build that thing? Because there's a lot of
Because
people
he
in
knew
New
the Republican was not going to win.
Why do you know that? Because
Well,
a
well,
lot of
Because
well.
he,
people
well,
are
So,
I
uh,
can
so
maybe
hold on,
answer
guys.
this because
So hold on a second here. So let me respond to Simona here for just briefly here. So, the problem is that in New York, the Democrats have such a machine there right now that it was very unlikely that Slee was going to win. Okay, Sliwa was not going to be able to win. The problem is if it had just been Sliwa versus one other person, that would have been it. But the Cuomo didn't get out of the race, so Cuomo stayed in, and there was no one to back it. So everybody had to pick between Cuomo or Mamdani because Mamdani was like Sliwa was just not going to get the vote. Like he's just not going to. You know, as much as I like Sliwa, a bunch of people want to argue about whether they like Sliwa or not. I don't really have an opinion on the guy. The one thing I will say about Sliwa is that he should have taken off that stupid red beret. You know, 6 months ago, he
Yeah,
should
I
have taken
know.
the
I
red
agree
beret
with you
off.
100%. I agree with you 100%. I'm not talking about Steve. I'm just talking they could choose another Republican if GOP would
Listen, I
gonna work
agree.
hard.
Listen, I agree with you
But
entirely. I think the
the thing,
Republican Party doesn't. They don't fight. Okay, they don't fight.
exactly, that's
They don't
my
fight for
point.
anything. They're useless. And this is what my
Exactly,
point is
that's
the whole
my
time is
point.
that the
They don't fight.
we need we need to do it on our own is what my point is because the Republican
Yes.
Party is a dead organization in my opinion. I think it is a dead organization without Trump on the ballot. I mean, this is what I'm. You know, people want to argue about it all they want, but I'm telling you right now, the Republican Party, as it stands today, without Trump getting them and leading them to victory, is a dead organization. I think they are a useless organization. I think they don't have a clue how to win. I don't think they are going to win without Trump. The only way we're going to win is if we do it on our own. And that means we have to get a whole group of people involved. We get a whole group of activists out there to actually start working because it's just not going to work without it. I mean, I think that's just
Yes,
reality at
I
this point.
agree with you 100%. And we have to fix the voting system because it's very rigid. You know, in New York, they even bus Chinese people from out of state to vote illegal. Illegal, they were voting. We have to do maybe filibuster will be good if they can pass
Yeah,
requirement.
someone said that or someone
That's my
said that
point.
earlier. If there's if we get rid of the filibuster and then force voter ID and all sorts of stuff like that,
Yes.
again, and listen, when it comes to the filibuster, the only thing I agree with, and somebody said this earlier, is that, I'll like I could see the idea of getting rid of the filibuster, but we'd also need to have proof of what legislation is actually going to go through the Senate if we did that. Like that needs to happen. Like we just need if we're going to do that, it needs to happen. I would like it, but we'll see. We'll see. Make sure you guys share this space out. By the way, guys, this is Political Theater.
Yes.
Thank you guys for
Okay.
joining
Thank
us this
you.
evening. Thanks, Simona. Thanks for coming up here. But guys, make sure you guys share this space out. We were just covering what we're talking about for the midterms. We're talking about New York. We're talking about Virginia. We're talking about New Jersey. We're just going through, what we think the next phase of this is going to be, because I think that at this point now, people just need to start realizing that the RNC and the GOP are not coming to help anybody. And I think that I don't have any trust in them as a organization at all. It really is kind of
Hey,
amazing to me.
Walter.
Yes, what's up?
I'm just questioning. Do you think that like if we protested, like held like protests outside the RCC, that could force them to help? Just a random thought I had.
I don't even think they'd care. These people don't care, dude. Listen to me. I think doing anything to pressure these people is a good idea. But I think the better way to do this would be to mock them. Again, remember the idea we came up with months ago. Like we came up with this idea, we were going to put together an organization of trying to come up with something. Like I don't know if anybody remembers this in here. There's a couple people that were in here, and I was coming up with like the idea of doing a pack that was designed specifically to pressure RNC, Rhino style Republicans, not as just removal, but to mock them into existence to get them to actually get things done in Congress. That was the idea. I think it would have worked. I think it would have worked great because you can pressure campaigns work, people. Like if you push real pressure on these people to do guerrilla marketing in their districts, yeah. Like make sure every time when their wife goes to go get their hair cut that the billboard right outside that says something ridiculous about her husband. Okay, like do that stuff because these people are all very establishment style prissy people. Like if you pressure them, they will snap on it and they'll actually move on policy. I agree on that. That would work. That would work. But again, to be able to do all that, you need funding to do it. The to me, I look at the way that like if I had the funding to be able to set up a grassroots organization and do door to door, on the ground kind of stuff, I would do it. But the deal is, it's not so easy to go out there and get donors for that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, I'd love to say that we could do that, but the donors all lean towards the old big establishment stuff anyway, which is why I'm going to have to start working with Turning Point. Like, I'm going to start working with Turning Point here in Ohio, see if I can work with them. I'm going to work the conservative caucus. We're trying to get things up and running for us as well. But again, we run into the same issues. The funding issues is always a problem. So, trying to get stuff done without heavy funding behind you is ridiculous. But the Democrats are the opposite. They have the opposite thing. They just get billions of dollars thrown at them from from all their billionaire friends, and their billionaire friends fund all sorts of crazy stuff. So, we don't have that on the right because most of the people on the right either run businesses or something like that. They want tangible results. The Democrats just give people money. They just give people shitloads of money and say, "Hey, go do this stuff," and they just do it. It's beyond me. I don't know how they get people to do this. It's wild. All right, guys. Well, we've got about 15 minutes left before I'm going to end the show this evening. We've only got, we have been run about 2 hours. If you have something to say, you are welcome to come up here and join me on stage. You can just request. If you want to request from the other streams, you have to go to x.com and go to @WC Dispatch. And if you want to join this show, guys, make sure you check out WCDispatch.com. And if you'd like to subscribe to me and support my work, you can always go to my X profile. I have subscriptions finally available on X. You can subscribe directly on my profile, but I'd also
As
prefer.
do I.
Yeah, and Jacktron does as well. But it's a lot more useful if you go to WCDispatch.com and subscribe there. That's where you get access to all of my reporting, all of my investigative work, all of my journalist work. All of that stuff gets published there first before I publish it anywhere else. Now, X.com, I'm going to start doing, now that I have a little bit more time, now that the campaigns are done, I'm going to start putting out I'm going to do exclusive content specifically for subscribers on X. I'm going to set it up I'm going to try to do some educational stuff for my tools and stuff that I use for what I do, how I do research, stuff like that. So I'm going to set that up and start doing that sort of content here very soon. But if you guys want to support me, the best ways to do that is WCDispatch.com. By the way, WCDispatch.com also has the stream, so you can watch that at 9 p.m. every weeknight. So that is live there as well, and you also get a notification when we're going live on there. But we got Bowtied Thrasher. What's up?
Hey, Walter. Hey, everybody. Just wanted to make three quick points. The second two will relate. So the first is, yeah, to your point, we all know it's the consulting class in the GOP. The Democrats love power, but the GOP loves money, and they sacrifice every time. I think with Virginia, the thing is, Winsome Sears wasn't a good candidate. She just wasn't. And if you didn't have the Jay Jones thing, can you imagine how much further that race could have even been? Even still, she wasn't. Youngkin really screwed the state with his basically handpicking her. And the thing is, people they forget, but she was very anti-Trump. She was pro DeSantis, and this is the point. It's like if people want to see what a DeSantis ticket would look like or that style of Republicanism, look at all the people who are attacking Vance right now. They're all people who supported DeSantis and that style of Republican. and they got whomped, and they will continue to get whomped in states where they don't need to. So let's look at, for example, Citarelli in New Jersey. He was endorsed, but he didn't want Trump to come to New Jersey. That people don't realize that he didn't even go
Hold
on.
on, hold on, hold on. I have to correct you. It was the consultant class that prevented Trump from coming to Jersey.
But
For
that's
sure,
his
and
consultants. But that's
yeah,
his consultants.
that's
That's the point that both sides are making.
Citarelli. That's Citarelli. The buck stops with him, right? He's the
Yeah,
candidate,
look,
and he tried to. And my only point, Walter, is I just to tie it to a future race, right? I think there's going to be a very interesting experiment. I'm very interested to hear what you think about this in New York next year, when it will most likely be Stefanik who runs as the governor, right? And she's going to run obviously as a check on Mamdani down in New York because Hochul is a joke. But the question I have for you is, I think she will be smart and embrace Trump because she's always embraced Trump, and I think that will push the some voters out that normally wouldn't. The anti-Trump vote's going to come against her anyway, but I do think that she'll be the first example in a blue state of somebody who doesn't run from Trump and fully embraces him. And I think because she didn't take the ambassadorship to Israel, she stayed. I think she's going to get the support, and it's going to be a knockout fight, a big fight in New York, and I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about that.
I agree with you entirely that I think Stefanik is going to be one of those people, one of the first people to do this. I agree with you entirely that she's not going to run from Trump. She's not. She's going to run with Trump. She's going to run. I don't think she probably won't like run as like 100% MAGA, but she's not going to ignore Trump. Okay, she's not going to ignore Trump. She's going to try and use Trump's name ID in New York to try and say this. And obviously, she's going to run using Mamdani. Like, I hope she just puts fast and free buses everywhere. Like, I mean, I hope she just has that like on a billboard. Like, where are your fast and free buses, and how fast and how free are they? Like, I can't wait for them. Like, they're going to be beautiful. Those fast and free buses are going to be hysterical. It's going to be the dumbest. That's going to be the dumbest thing that has ever been said by a political candidate. And all of these morons and like these stupid yuppie like liberal progressives are like, yay, fast and free buses. Okay, I hope now pour my Starbucks cup. Like, I mean, these people are so clueless. They have no idea. But yes, you are probably right that Stefanik is going to be one of the first people to actually do this properly, where they're going to embrace Trump. Because the deal is, and here's the other side of this, is it doesn't matter if you're Trump or not. If you're for Trump or not, they're still going to pin it to you, which is exactly what they did with Winsome Sears, except she didn't have the support from Trump. But here's the one thing I will say in response to that is, I don't agree with you at all that Winsome Sears wasn't a good candidate. I think Winsome Sears was a good candidate. I met Winsome Sears. I talked with Winsome Sears. I was there with her at the final moments of the campaign with Winsome Sears. This woman is a very Christian woman, very religious. She was at the moment of that. She was not crying. She wasn't hysterical and screaming and upset. She was praying and saying that it was, God has another plan for us and everybody else in this state. And I hope that Abigail Spanberger is willing to take care of these people. Okay. So this
do
is
you think, Walter? Do you
hold
think
on, just hold on.
Do you think
Let
she
me
ran
finish.
a good campaign?
Let me finish talking, and then you can respond to me. Okay. So the problem is that, again, consultants overcame that campaign to the point that they refused to let Trump be part of it. They said, well, we need to be very careful up in Northern Virginia and all this stuff. Look, the problem is none of that stuff, though. Okay. The real problem is the Republican Party is a useless, stupid organization that does not understand that the Republicans, that the Democrats can run a goldfish and fucking win elections. It doesn't matter to them. They don't care who they run. The Republicans are playing the wrong game. They don't understand at all that the Republicans do not care. Like, the Democrats don't care who they run. It means nothing to them. Abigail Spanberger cannot speak. She is an idiot. She cannot talk. She can't answer questions. She freezes. She can't do anything. And they ran a whole machine behind her anyway and won. Okay? Like, that's the difference. They only care about winning. It doesn't matter to them at all who the candidate is. Doesn't matter to them at all who the candidate is. They get full institutional backing. They get full donor funding. They get a full ground game operation up and running for them for every single person. It doesn't matter if it is a goldfish or a poodle named Steve. It does not matter. They get the backing for it. It is irrelevant to them who the candidate is. And that's because to them, the only thing that matters is the power that represents when they have that governorship. And the Republicans are not playing that same game. They're not. They worry, I don't like this candidate. Oh, this candidate isn't good enough for me. It's not great. I don't like this one. Like, that's the problem. That is the problem at the end of the day. You're running in a different game, playing against people that want to kill you and your children, and they're willing to elect those people, and you are worried about whether or not you like the candidate or not. Republicans need to wake up. Like they need to understand the difference between the two. Like if you can't figure out how to back your candidates 1,000%, the Democrats will run whoever the hell they want and they will win. They just proved it. They just put a guy in office that said he's willing to put 2 bullets in the head of his political opponents and wants your children to die in your mother's arms. And they won. That's what happened.
I can't disagree with you, Walter. I mean, everything there you say, I agree. I still think that, I think Citarelli ran a better campaign, a better retail campaign. I don't think she had moments where she could have hit harder. I think she spent way too much political capital on trans bathrooms, which is kind of was not what people were focusing on in this one. But I just thought her campaign could have been better. But I can't disagree with you. You're absolutely right. And it's very frustrating because you see it at the top of the party with Thune and with Johnson. And it's like it is a weak position that they're in right now, where they are consistently saying the Democrats won't let us do this. And you hear Trump, who's coming obviously with the nuclear option, but you hear it's still a point of attack. Like we're in control. We have to be in control. And you hear these Republicans pretending like they have absolutely no control. Oh, there's nothing we can do. We don't have any control. And it's not a position of power. And people don't respond to that. People don't want to go and vote for that. Like we just saw, like you said, the people aren't going, it's not going to ignite your base to go vote. Like you think about what ignited people to go vote for Youngkin, right? They were ignited to go. It's like this, there's nothing we can do kind of attitude that a lot of the top Republicans have right now as they just keep taking in money is really detrimental. It's definitely detrimental to the administration.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, listen, getting motivated people to vote is one thing, but and this is what my point is why I've been talking about the midterms coming up is because I'm convinced that one of the biggest problems Republicans have is we simply have zero ground game. Okay, and I'm not talking about this ground like that. I know that there's people up here that work for early vote action and stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, there's a different type of ground game. Okay, like the Democrats have a massive, huge, multi-state, multi-dimensional operation that operates everywhere. Okay, like they've got people that can show up and have 1,000 people outside in a tiny little town in the middle of Ohio, and they can do that 3 times in a year. Okay, like the Republicans don't do that. Okay, and like Dante, like there's a bunch of people like, well, they don't have jobs. Like, no, they do it on Saturday. Okay, the No Kings protest, every single one of those was on a Saturday, guys. Okay, that means that that is a weekend, and not everybody's working on the weekend. You can go do stuff. Okay, like they managed to get their voters out there, and whether people like it or not, those are effective at getting their base rallied. That's how they get their base rallied up. That's how they get new voters out because people see them. They see them in the streets doing stuff. It is effective. Whether you like it or not, it's true. So the only thing that I say, and I'm not expecting us to be able to match that, okay? Like I know how much money those things cost. There was a bunch of analysis on how much money those things cost, but I'm not expecting that. But what we could do, if Republican donors actually got off their ass and realized that we need to get in the game, is what we could do is we could send 10 to 15 people at every single one of those rallies and get tons of clips and talk to people. Now, we have some of our people that do that on their own, but not if we showed up as an organized unit and actually set it up like Brandon Straka did up in New York. Like Brandon Straka for his anti-socialism rallies, those are effective. I guarantee you those made a significant dent. He had a bunch of people show up for those. Those are effective. He's got good speakers. He's got good events. He's got good videographers. He has got good content. He's got his whole operation up and running. That is an effective way to do that. That is an effective way to do that. And we could do that in every single state. And we should do it in every single state. We should. I think that is a very important thing to do. But the Republicans don't seem to have any interest in getting involved in that, especially in the Republican establishment side. They don't want that. Why? I have no idea. To me, that just tells me they just want to lose. That's the only thing I can read into it. Yes, Jack.
What do you think that maybe we should be trying to contact some of these donors, see if maybe they'd be able to fund some of these efforts?
I mean, look, to me, I've come to the realization that I'm going to have to start fundraising on my own. I get it, and I've been trying to avoid it because I'm sure Chris is here on the stage. He understands how wonderful the days of fundraising are. Just glorious, wondrous, fun days of fundraising where you do nothing but make phone calls all day long and people just hang up on you and yell at you. Yeah. I'm super excited for that. Let me tell you. But at this point, I think I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to set up my own operation, and start doing it because as much as I'd say I want to get things done, for the conservative caucus to be able to do this, I know that I've already got it set up an organization behind me that I can use for the fundraising apparatus. So I'm going to have to do it on my own. Like that's just going to have to happen. I'm going to have to set it up on my own and do it out here. Now I can't do it in other states though. So the deal is that I can't do operate everywhere, but I'm going to have to figure out what I can do. So we're gonna have to start doing it on our own. Is the point? Is I keep telling people there's no cavalry coming. Like there's no one coming to help us. There's no one else going to show up. We're going to have to build it and build it from scratch on our own. And the problem is we only have 6 months. If we had a couple years, I would probably have tried to figure out how to set up some sort of my own organization. Maybe by that point I would have had enough of the media attention that I've been able to use my own funding for it. But we don't have time. Okay, we have 363 days now before the midterm election, and we need to have a ground game operation up and running within 6 months. So I'm going to be working with Turning Point Action in Ohio. I'm going to be working with the Conservative Caucus. That's my goal, is to see if I can help with the ground game here and move as many people out into the streets as we possibly can to get stuff done, because we have to. Otherwise, we're going to lose. Okay, we had one more person with their hand up here.
Yes, I was want to mention it about New York because GOP doesn't help too much, but Stefani is 1 point ahead the Hochul right now, and GOP should start working with Stefani right now, then start the get money from her and donation and everything, because I'm telling you, New York it could be Republican. All upstate New York is red. Long Island is red. Staten Island is red. Only Manhattan and some part of Brooklyn and Queens that they are really blue. But the majority of New York State is red. So she has a big chance to win. But GOP and RNC, they're gonna have to start working together with her because she's a very good person. Everybody loves her, and as I said, majority of New York is red. We have to fix the voting system, the not to be rigid, and also the GOP has to move their butt. I don't want to say other word
No, but you're
because
you're
they
100% right. I mean, you're 100% right, Simona. They need to get involved, and they need to get involved now. But the problem is, I don't trust the GOP to be able to do that. I just don't. I think that the only way you're going to be able to do it is be able to get the Republicans and activists in New York involved. I think you're going to have to get them involved to get that stuff up and running. I think that's the only way. All right, Hill, you have your hand up, and then
Well, really,
go ahead. Go
real
Yeah, I
ahead,
quick,
Chris.
just I
Walter. I got to say this part real quick here because I think this is important. I think folks need to understand that there is a massive group of potential volunteers, donors, etc., that is not quote GOP. They're Trump supporters, and what I think continues. This is actually going to be a test for me. This is what I'm watching. If you guys want to know, well, this is what I'm watching. The Trump administration already knows which races are going to be important and which races could be a sleeper, right? So the question is going to become how much skin do they put in the game to retain the majority in the House and potentially pick up seats in the Senate. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch because the bottom line is if they lose the majority in the House, this is the first term all over again. They're going to do impeachments, all the different stuff, and I just don't feel like the GOP has an understanding of the ground they're on right now. And so what I'm hoping and looking at is whether Trump's going to say to his administration, because he has a lot of savvy campaigners on his administration. You're going, you're David Axelrod now. You're getting out of the White House. You're going to the campaign apparatus, and you're running this operation to keep our majority in the House and to pick up some seats in the Senate. And the other thing I'm watching with Elon, if Elon gets his $1 trillion package to the finish line with Tesla, the other thing I'm watching is Elon. He said from day one, he's gonna, that he's gonna help. He's gonna fund primaries against people who don't push forward the Doge cuts, the Trump agenda that he had supported. So there's a lot of moving parts that I'm watching at this point in a very short window because the truth of the matter is the Democrats are already campaigning for 2026. Their operations are already off the ground. They've been off the ground for probably, I would venture to say, since May. maybe a little earlier than that for sure on some of these important races. And so that's what I'm watching. And I would just implore folks who are Trump supporters to stop gravitating towards Twitter candidates. You have to ask them, what's your path to victory? What's your win number? Curtis Sliwa never had a chance in this race. He never had a chance. But I commend him for running because the GOP didn't put somebody on the ballot that could have won. You're telling me they couldn't find a celebrity in New York with a big name that could have enthroned these Wall Street people could have thrown and hundreds of millions of dollars behind to win if they really were that upset about the future of New York. This is a lot of catch up by these people at the last second, and unfortunately, politics is about branding. What happened with Mondami is an example of what also happened with Spamberger in some respect, that they did not the opposition, Republicans or Cuomo, etc., whoever, they did not jump out early to brand those people, and they came in too late. And because of that, they got mopped across the floor.
Well, I think the real thing that happened in New York, and I said this when it happened, actually, in New York, what really happened was Cuomo thought he was going to win that primary hand over fist and did not expect that Zoran Mamdani actually was out there campaigning and working his ass off to get the vote. Okay. He didn't get a huge percentage of the primary, but he got it. Like, that's all that mattered. He knew that if he won the primary, he'd win. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. He went out there and he worked for the primary and he blew Cuomo out because Cuomo thought that his name ID was not tainted by the fact that he let everybody's grandmother die in the nursing home. Okay, like Cuomo, people hate you, dude. Get over it. Like they don't like you. Like that you're not as popular as you used to be in New York. Like you're just not. It's a stupid decision. Okay, Hill, you had something to say. Then we keep going here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, to Simona's point. Yeah, I don't think the GOP. I don't know what the GOP is like upstate, but I do know that in New York City, it's very thin. Although I do think that after the Mamdani victory, there is a chance to bring it to life. But I wouldn't rely on them. I think this is going to have to be done in some other way. That's all I. And the other thing is, I think that we ought to be lining up the opposition to Schumer and Gillibrand, even though their terms aren't up in this midterm. But Schumer comes up.
Get your
I'm
what you
gonna.
should be doing is getting your candidate ready to run against AOC because AOC is going to primary the hell out of Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is done.
Yeah,
Chuck
that's not even
Schumer's
going to be a
done.
race.
Chuck
That's not going
Schumer's
to be a
done.
race.
It's not even going to be
Well,
close.
right. What I
She's
meant,
going
but
to
then
blow him out.
right. But what about a Republican in there?
No, that's what I'm talking about. Like you need
Yeah,
to be ready to run against AOC. Like
exactly.
you need a candidate ready to run against AOC because she is going to blow Chuck Schumer out. Like that's going to happen
Yeah,
very quickly now. And I think you could easily make an easy move against AOC. I mean, she's an idiot. Like just like I mean, she's an
yeah,
idiot. Like just you can easily run against her. The Operation Let Her Speak is very effective for AOC. She's not very difficult. Like you can run against AOC. You just need to have a good candidate to go against him. Put up someone that actually has the money to be able to fund the race, and I think that's possible. Okay, guys, I'm already over time here for the evening, guys. I appreciate everyone that showed up here and spoke this evening. I hope that everybody gets involved before as we come into the midterms here. The regular show will continue tomorrow night, 9 p.m. for Friday Night News. We'll actually go over the news of this week. The past couple of days have been talking about what we're doing for the midterms. As we continue to move through the midterms, I'm going to have at least one night a week where I talk about this exclusively. Okay, so if you guys want to get involved, if you want to be part of this, you want to get involved on the ground, you want to figure out what you're going to do, I'm going to talk about this probably. I'm probably going to try and do Wednesday nights. I'm going to have this covering specifically talking about the elections, the midterms, and I'm going to make it a focus of the show as I start to move into specific districts and start to tell you what we're doing. I'm going to keep you guys updated. And what I used to do for the Virginia race is we spend an hour on it every single night for 3.5 months. For the midterms, I'm going to do is as we move closer and closer and closer to it, as we get into January, I'll probably be focusing on it for most of the show. Okay, so this is going to be entirely politics on here. We'll have news at the beginning of it for the first few minutes, and then we're going to move into the politics side of it and talk about midterm races because this is important. And everybody else, and this is one thing I'd like to leave with everybody with tonight is everybody else who is screaming about things that do not matter, tune them out, stay focused, because we only have a year to win this election. And if we do not, Trump's agenda is out. We are screwed. And the communists and the gay communists and all of the ridiculous oyster farmers from the Northeast are going to somehow take over the party, and we're going to be completely screwed. Okay, guys.
Cease white men.
That's right. The cease white men of the Northeast are going to take over the world, and we're going to have to live under gay communist rule. Okay. Thank you guys for showing up this evening. This is the Political Theater. I'm Walter Kurt. Thank you guys for showing up this evening. Make sure you check out our sponsors at twc.health/TPT. Use code TPT at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Make sure you guys subscribe to both myself and Jacktron, and we will see you guys tomorrow night for more of the theater. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark. Their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound, ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no, it ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so. Some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised hairs, no. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so. Yeah, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. Not the theater's pawns, friend. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're America's steadfast ones. No, we won't be spun.